What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to UAP Tuesday. It's the big thing. And I'm so glad that you guys are joining us here today. I really appreciate it. I got a comment last week, someone who was kind of newer to the show and started watching. I said, I really enjoy what you guys are talking about here. I just have a question. Is there enough to cover every week, you think? As someone who's into it? And my answer now, every time someone asks that is, and then some. And I say that because it was the same question I had with Reilly when we started talking about doing this show. I said, is there going to be enough stuff to cover? And then I learned myself, then some, and then some. Because there's stuff, and even so much, I'm going to have an announcement about daily stuff. That's how much news is constantly coming in from the community. But what we're really going to cover in depth today is this Jesse Michels video that he just put out on February 22nd. The name of it is called "The Man Who Built UFOs for the CIA," and in parentheses, not Bob Lazar. It's about Townsend Brown, the anti-gravity, the stuff behind it. It's fascinating. And when you go down the rabbit hole in this, there's so many more questions. We already had, that's why we're doing this. In general, it's all the questions that we have. But there's more questions. And there's more answers that are coming in, especially when it's a few other things we'll cover, because there's going to be so much in this doc that the conversation is just going to go on and on and on. So some of the other things I'd like to cover that I hope that we get to is there's also this new report about the field hearings and what exactly that means, the field hearings in general, what is different about the hearings that they had last summer. What will the field hearings exactly cover? And James Fox, one of our favorite filmmakers inside of this community, he had a new interview. Something following up from his Moment of Contact doc that he did, and something about that Virginia case. We'll talk about that. There's other things, but this is the stuff. This stuff that's coming in with this documentary, the questions that are going to be talked about and we're going to ask, and other things that just kind of blew our mind. If you're brand new to this channel, you've never been to this channel before, you saw this, you want to talk about this, and you're interested about the phenomenon, hit that button, man. We're trying to get to 200,000 faster than we got to 100,000 subscribers. And the reason why is because we approach this in people who are just kind of like, well, what is this thing? We don't know. We're not experts. There's tons of experts, the Jeremy Corbells of the world and the Jesse Michels of the world. We are people, the normal schmoes here, just talking about what is this stuff. And we feel like this is why this show is growing, because there's a lot of you out there. So be part of this conversation. We had Steve Bassett on last week. More and more people have been watching that interview. I thank you. We're going to get more people coming up. So we're excited, really excited today. Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're pretty sure, and I guess I just make the announcement now, we're pretty sure that we're going to be doing a separate podcast feed for this show. I think we're going to move it away from the other podcast feed and move just the podcast feed to its own separate thing. And that being said, this show will stay on this channel. It's not moving. It'll be on Tuesdays, same as it is. No, like, oh my God, where do I find it now? It's where it's going to be. However, what I'm pretty sure that I'm going to start doing, because there is so much content coming out daily that we can't always cover it on this show, we're going to start doing some daily videos on this. And it could be 5, it could be 10 minutes, it may be more. But we're going to start a new channel. And those pieces that you guys have been seeing, I've been doing the Who Is, the David Grush one. We did Lou Elizondo. Probably not going to do one this week because I want to get the new channel set up, because that's where that's going to live. All that stuff is going to live on that channel now. And so we're going to do daily content there. And I'm pretty sure someone gave me the suggestion in the comments, and I'm going to call it Down to Earth with Kristian Harloff, because I think that it gets the point across of what this is. So look for that. And it might even be up by this week or next week. We're working on it. So there you go. All right, that's everything. Let's get into it, man. This is the show. It's myself, it's Mark Reilly, and special guest Pavel joining us here today. Let's do it. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is the big thing. UAP Tuesdays. Myself, Kristian Harloff, Mark Yodius Reilly.
Hello, everybody.
Nice to have you here, Mark.
It's so good to be here, changing my worldview every 24 hours with these news.
Dude,
these news breaks, these documentaries.
Insane. It's insane.
It's insane.
And joining us today, He is Pavel. And Pavel, if you don't know, has his own channel that I always link in the description when he's on the show, obviously. He helps me out with the writing of the What Is series. He's going to be helping me out with the daily content. And he does a lot of great interviews on his channel. It's Pavel. How are you, Pavel?
Hey, guys.
What a crazy week. What a crazy week, huh?
Yeah. Kudos to Jesse Michels, man. He does some great content.
All right. So, yeah, this Jesse Michels doc is just crazy. So, Pavel, let's just talk about this thing, man, right off the bat. So, did you have any knowledge that this thing was dropping? Because I know that you know, and before we even get into the documentary itself, give us a little background on Townsend Brown, because this is a name that I have heard since getting into this community. I've heard this name over and over and over again. I think that one of the first times I actually heard it was on the Y-Files, and that thing that I sent you that you never watched, Reilly. So that thing is one of the things that that's one of the first times. And it seems like he was kind of discredited, but now more and more so is getting more credited. Is that accurate?
Yes, he's been stigmatized since, his whole career, basically, because he was at a very specific place in time when anti-gravity was becoming like the trend in the science world. And his ideas were pretty out there, and they were very stigmatized by the scientific community. The first time I heard someone who knows about this talking about this was Eric Weinstein on the Joe Rogan podcast, who was on the episode of Jesse Michels. And the thing is that what you don't know is they stigmatized him, but in a sense, I think Townsend Brown was like the Tesla of his era, you know?
Yeah, for some reason you have confetti now. It's stupid. I don't know.
It's my birthday.
Oh, is it?
No.
I was gonna say maybe that makes some sense.
It was cued with the quotes. I don't know what happened.
Stupid. Anyway, so this is, and for people who don't know, once again, he was part of this anti-gravity program, and it looks like he's the one guy that like cracked it and like did it. And
sure seems that way. Yeah.
And when you listen to some of the stuff in this documentary, there were people that worked with him, the people who studied under Einstein that went to go listen to his program, and they were blown away by what this guy knew and what he was able to accomplish. And then you started to see all these the programs that he was involved with through the years. And what it seems to me, and Reilly, I'll start with you, and then you can tell me if you felt differently on this. At first, as I'm watching this thing, I'm like, well, wait a minute. The way that they're explaining it, it seems like it's explained more that these things we're seeing in the air are actually our craft because they figured out how to do it.
Yeah.
That's because when you look at, in the 1950s, 1960s, they were trying to do these UFOs, the disc shape, they were trying to get off the ground but couldn't get off the ground. And then by the 80s or 90s, it seems like they cracked it. So these things that you're seeing, because some of the technology that Townsend Brown came up with is definitely inside of some of these stealth bombers. And when you go down the whole rabbit hole of the John Lear and Bob Lazar part of it, it's crazy. But at the first half of it, I'm like, oh, so what Jesse Michels is saying here is that these things we're seeing in the sky aren't alien craft, they're us. It's not what he's saying, but I'm just saying it seems like you're like, oh, well, that can explain that maybe they did crack this. And because I think a lot of people are going to say that, yeah, that's what we've been telling you. It's not aliens. They figured out how to do this a long time ago. Did you get that in the first like half an hour, 40 minutes?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I talk about making a right turn like in the middle of an 80 mile an hour drive, just because at first I was feeling this wave of like disappointment come over me where I'm like, what is it just this? But then it just kind of all, and I made a joke at the top of the show. My worldview changing within 24 hours every day changed again. In that, I go, wait a minute, this could be just us in the future, or like technology. This is what I'm trying to say because my mind is racing from this.
Yeah.
Technology, science can very much lead to the discovery of everything in the future, and that this could very well be us, interdimensional, like cracking codes that then, time travel is brought up. We'll get there. I'm not going there just yet. But the idea that, this technology that Townsend Brown is talking about is discovered, and that people, that Pavel, you said, was stigmatized because they don't want him to be right. They
Disinformation.
Disinformation.
Yeah.
That, you see these UFOs, these UAPs over nuclear testing sites at the Oppenheimer the program there. They started seeing UAPs, in their research. I mean, this could very well be, it's like this sci-fi movie, the UFO lands, it opens up, and it's us coming out to warn us.
Right. Well, Pavel, so let me ask you, man. So the beginning part of it, because like Reilly said, I don't want to get too much into the other stuff yet, because I'd like to take this kind of sectional. When you see the beginning of that, were you feeling kind of the same way up top? Is that they were like, because I was confused, because Jesse Michels has been a big proponent. Obviously, he had Grush on, he has all these different people on that has proven he's very much a believer in the phenomenon and what it is and these particular things, what it could be. So didn't it seem at first, in the first like half an hour, that he was trying to say like, no, this is what he worked on because it is our technology?
Yeah, I have stumbled upon information related to that before. I think Jesse thinks it's all of the above, not just us.
Right. I'm in for that first half an hour, though. I'm saying the way that it was proposed in that first half an hour.
He wanted to make it clear, I think, in my view, that this has some truth to it. I mean, the Townsend Brown story and the technology he cracked. But yeah, maybe he wanted to play it like that for the documentary.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think he believes it's the only thing that it's.
No, I mean clearly, if you keep watching it, then he says as much, because and then you start to get into the Bob Lazar part of it is the most confusing part for me, because
it was kind of like a knock on Bob Lazar. I saw it that way.
I don't know.
I don't know what you guys think.
I didn't take it as a knock. I took it as he pretty much painted Lazar as a pawn. Not as much as a knock, because he doesn't say, he prefaces at the top. He says, I'm not saying that I don't believe that he worked at the program. I think that he very well might have, but I think that it would make sense that he was fed misinformation, because I'll be honest, at first when he made the point, I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I've never had a clear stance on Lazar yet, because I do feel the same, that he's got that what a lot of people say. He has stuck to the same story for years. He hasn't changed his story, and he believes his story. I think that that's all valid. And so when he started painting that picture, I was like, I don't know if I'm going with Jesse on this one. But then he starts bringing up the John Lear stuff and the reasoning behind why John Lear would feed disinformation, and why he would go to George Knapp, and why he would have reason to do that. And it started making sense to me, with the fact that if they had this technology for the stealth bomber and they didn't want it being out there, they no, blame it. But talk about aliens, because they won't go down this route.
There's this one name that links both Bob Lazar and Townsend Brown, and a lot of people don't know, but the way Bob Lazar got his job, according to him, was due to Edward Teller, who's the father of the hydrogen bomb.
Right.
The hydrogen bomb. And Taylor was one of the credible witnesses who corroborated everything Townsend Brown had been working on. He's one of the 5 credible witnesses that Jesse Michels mentions in his documentary. So that, I think Edward Teller had like a central role in all of this, because he saw Townsend Brown's work, and he also gave Bob Lazar the pass to work at S4.
So Reilly, you hear all that and the Lazar portion of it, because they spent a good 5-10 minutes with the John Lear, because remember we covered that George Knapp documentary that they did on News Nation, which we're going to talk about. News Nation and The Hill, they've fallen off the map recently. Where have they been? They haven't covered anything. They didn't cover the soul stuff. Who got to them? So that's another thing. Let's talk about the Lazar portion of it, because we watched that George Knapp thing, and they covered that John Lear extensively with inside that part of it, and how this all came to be, and how he was introduced to Bob Lazar. What do you think about the kind of hypothesis that Jesse makes in this, that Lear kind of almost sets Lazar up to be I don't know, almost it seems like a patsy. Is that right?
I felt that way too. I mean, it's just it's really hard to classify a lot of this for me, just because it's a lot of mind bending stuff.
Yeah.
But you said patsy, pawn. What it truly comes to for me is that there is so much disinformation that can come out of these things.
Yeah.
When people, and I think this is just in our society, in the United States especially, is that if you look at like the electric car, right? There are like forces that try to stop that from becoming a thing,
Sure,
because it's all monetary based. And I think that we're looking at similar things here. The minute, like, let's say Townsend Brown has invented the anti-gravity, whatever it may be, and then you have Bob Lazar, and you have all these names coming in there, all of a sudden you have information that's coming out, and you go, oh, he's a pawn, and people see it as that. I mean, that could be a part of disinformation. It could be, I think, the idea that it's just trying to stop the progress of our movement in technology. There was a part with Burchett. Jesse Michels is talking to Burchett, and he's like, why would we want to keep all of this secret? And I mean, Burchett just always cuts to the point. He's like, ego.
Yeah.
It's just they're so full of themselves.
Well, hold that then, because there's a few. I mean, this is jumping forward in the documentary, but there's 3 quotes that I pulled from this documentary, and let me tell you what these 3 are. All right, these are 3 quotes here, and Pavel, if you have some info on some of the gentlemen that gave these particular quotes, I know that you got to watch the whole thing, but this is from John Andrews at Testers Motor Corporation. And the quote is, and again, this is from Jesse Michels' doc, it was Ben Rich's opinion that the public should not be told about UFOs and extraterrestrials. He believed they could not handle the truth ever. That's the first quote. Another quote from John Andrews again. Only in the last month of his decline did he begin to feel that the International Corporate Board of Directors dealing with the subject, UFOs, could represent a bigger problem to the citizens' personal freedom under the United States Constitution. And the one that really got me, Ben Rich, second director of Lockheed's Skunk Works. We already have the means to travel among the stars, but these technologies are locked up in black projects, and it would take an act of God to ever get them out to benefit humanity.
That's not earth-shattering at all.
When I read that, we already have the means.
Yeah,
I'm going, what?
I believe that.
What?
I believe that to a certain degree. I really do. Because, I mean, it's like this is all new stuff for me. And, Kristian, you say at the start of the show all the time, I mean, we're just 2 regular guys. And Pavel here, 3 regular guys that we're looking for answers. And every day, every new piece of information or evidence that comes forward, or is revealed, I should say, changes my opinion of things. I mean, it's constantly moving. It's like time.
Pavel, what do you think about these quotes? And is there anything you want to add to some of the gentlemen who made some of these statements?
Yeah, Ben Rich, he's like famous within the UFO community because he said some other stuff. For example, at one of the talks he gave at a university.
Who is he exactly?
He was he was one of the first directors of the Skunk Works at Lockheed Martin.
Right.
And the Skunk Works is like kind of like the Umbrella Corporation from Resident Evil. They're kind of like that, I think, because they have all the secrets, they have all the tech. There are a lot more corporations that do have a lot of great tech too, but these guys were like the first.
Okay.
I mean, they did the SR-71, which is essentially one of the biggest and the fastest airplanes in history. And Ben Rich, in one of those talks, he insinuated that the way you cracked anti-gravity and space travel was through ESP, which is extrasensory perception. And that was kind of weird. That was kind of like a weird quote to say, because he's essentially saying that these machines can be manipulated through your mind, essentially. That's what he's saying. And he's quoted saying that too. And these quotes are just some more from many that he did when he retired from the Skunk Works. Because he kept giving talks and everything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, this is Lockheed Martin, which we've been talking about forever. Which everyone thinks that they're the ones who are really funding this whole thing, and the ones basically who were responsible. One of the ones responsible for kind of gutting that Schumer and Rounds bill and all that stuff. But like they're always mentioned, this guy was part of their program, saying that we have the means. We have the means to space travel now if we wanted to do it. And then if you look at the stuff that they're talking about with how these certain technologies that they were working on from Townsend's stuff in the 50s and 60s wasn't working out, but by the time we got to the 80s and the 90s, they probably got a lot better. But Pavel, what do you think about when you hear that quote about that we already have the means? Do you think that that's accurate? Do you think that we do have the means and that they are locked up in these kind of black programs?
If they have had it since the 50s, let's say, what have they been doing with it all this time? And I think that because not a lot of people like to talk about what Dr. Stephen Greer talks about openly, because there's such wild claims, but many of them are in the documentary that Jesse Michels put out. And I don't know, Jesse did start with that disclaimer at the beginning, where he was like, I'm very happy right now. I'm the happiest I've ever been.
Right.
I don't want to hurt myself.
That's crazy.
It's like he knows what kind of stuff he's putting out, you know?
That sent a chill down my back when he said it at the very beginning because of the implications. And it's like, and you said it, Pavel, it's like this, I am of sound mind and body, very happy, don't want to harm myself because of those implications that, you know, he's stumbling onto some very black ops, CIA, deep stuff here.
Well, especially this Townsend Brown. I mean, like this is, I mean, just when you look at everything that he puts together on this, and what's crazy about this, it's the same thing, the broken record here. Like this is rightfully so. I think the documentary right now is like 220,000 views. The thing should have 2.5 million. People should be watching this. I'll put a link in the description so you guys can check it out and watch it itself. But same thing. No one's covering it. And that goes. We'll take a break from the doc for a second to kind of get into that point I just made a little while ago. As we were talking to Steve Bassett, who was very adamant that there is a lot of coverage. And we push back, like there's a lot of coverage in print. There's not a lot of coverage in mainstream stuff. He brought up News Nation and The Hill and all that. Where they been? Like, isn't it, Pavel? What happened to them? They were putting out videos every day, or something, and then not one video on the Seoul conference. Not one. That was crazy. Where'd they go?
They did a segment this past week. I think,
they? Okay.
Coulthard and with Corbell. They were talking about documents that are going to be released by the government, not the ones that hurt national security. Coulthard was very clear on that. But yeah, you're right. They haven't been as active as they were. I think the reason for that is because, something I think is coming soon. They might put out something really big soon. So
they're trying.
They want to keep it quiet for a little bit.
That to me is silly, keeping it quiet. I understand doing like the whole. I understand doing build up to your special and all that stuff that you're doing, but like, if you go, I'm talking about their clips alone. The stuff that they cover that every other news channel covers does okay. Yeah. The stuff they cover on UAP, it does extraordinarily well. Like when you look at their videos that they do, it does. They were repurposing videos. Yeah. And it does it's really weird that they disappeared off the face of the earth. All right. Before we get into some other stuff, because there's a lot more to cover, I am excited to talk to you guys as we talk about each and every week. We have it's our wonderful sponsors here that continue us to keep going and pushing forward. And two of them that I got to tell you about is both AG1 and The Perfect Gene. Very excited that both of them are with us. Here we go. AG1. I love AG1. You guys know I love AG1. I've been talking about AG1. I got Reilly now. Reilly's on the AG1. He loves it because it is what you need to do. I'm not a vitamins guy. I've never been a big vitamins guy because there's just too many of them. You got to take 75 million in order to be all caught up. Do it all in one shot because taking care of your health, it's not always easy, but it's got to be simple. So you guys know for the last 2 years, I've been drinking it every day. No exceptions. It's easy. It's one scoop. You mix it in water and it makes me feel great. And it gives me all my dose of vitamins I just dig it. And I support. I completely like trust it, and I've been trusting it. So I've been raving about it forever. I know what I'm getting. I'm getting the essential brain, the gut, the immune health support with the vitamins, the probiotics, the nutrients from the whole foods. I think of it as a nutritional insurance, because I know I'm covering my bases right from the start of the day. It's so good. I shake it up in a bottle of water. It's awesome. And if it's one product that I would recommend to elevate your health, it is AG1. And that's why I've partnered with them for so long. So take ownership of your health and start with AG1. You got to try AG1. You get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 and K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/bigthing. drinkag1.com/bigthing. I love the Perfect Gene. I was so lucky. The other day they had sent me these jeans and I put them on, and man, they are comfortable. They are really, really comfortable. So if you didn't know about them, the problem is a lot of times you have these kind of rough and rigid jeans. I did, and they crush your nuts. That's what they do. Because if you're wearing oversized jeans, they kind of make you a laughing stock at the office, at the bar. Is your significant other tired of you wearing sweats or khakis because you hate wearing jeans? Well, that's why today's sponsor, The Perfect Jean, finally solved all of your denim difficulties. They make great-looking, perfect-fitting jeans that are comfortable as sweatpants. And the secret? A special denim fabric that's super soft and has the perfect amount of stretch so you can squat, do yoga, or just sit around all day, and you don't want to take them off. They make 6 different fits. They're from skinny to thick, and they have a waist from 26 to 50, lengths from 26 to 38, big boys, short kings, tall dudes, and all the rest. They got you. Now, for a limited time, our listeners are going to get 15% off their first order plus free shipping at theperfectgene.nyc, or you Google The Perfect Gene and use that code BIGTHING15 for 15% off. So I really, for me, I've got to have a comfortable jean. I've really got to, I got to feel like I'm almost, I can move in them, and I don't feel like, I don't know, like scrunched up. And these things they're really, they deliver on what they're promising. They're comfortable. They're stretchy. I can move around. They really fit well. It's great. So it's finally topped. You got to stop crushing your balls, guys. And in those uncomfortable jeans, you go to theperfectgene.nyc, and our listeners are going to have 15% off your first order, free shipping, free returns, free exchanges. You got to use that code BIGTHING15 at checkout. So that's 15% off for new customers at theperfectgene.nyc with promo code BIGTHING15. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Fuck your khakis and get The Perfect Gene. All right, thank you once again to our friends over at AG1 and The Perfect Gene. Reilly, man, you've been really you've been on the AG1.
Oh, I'm on. It's like you gave me like one of those travel packets,
Yeah.
and I used it, and then I'm like, I'm gonna look into this, and I got it, and it's like every morning I do it, and I'm not the I'm your co-host here, so it's really good.
It's great.
It's really good.
It's great.
Makes me feel the energy is amazing. It makes me feel great. It's the first thing I do in the morning.
It's the best, and it tastes good. It tastes good. It looks it's green, but it tastes good. And it's same thing. And the Perfect Gene, by the way, I was walking with the little one the other day, and I was like, I need a pair of jeans, and I had the Perfect Jeans that they sent me, super comfortable. Just threw them on. I was like, oh, these are great. I wear them a lot. So thank you to both of them. All right, let's move on. Let's get back to this documentary because there's so much now. Pavel, we'll throw to you here, man. Like, what do you? There's an hour and 40 minutes of this thing. What stood out? What blew your mind? What do you think that the public should be talking about? That the regular peeps should go, oh, really? That they said that?
Yeah, well, in general, I think the whole story of Townsend Brown needs to be looked at more thoroughly. I think I was happy to see Nick Cook appear on the show. I specifically didn't talk about a lot of the anti-gravity stuff because it's not the.
You mean on your interview? Interview? Okay.
Yeah, on my interview. It's not the only talk we're gonna have. I think he wants to speak to me again, and he also wants to speak to on the channel on the show.
Yeah, his kids are fans, right?
Yeah,
that's amazing.
He told me that his kids gave him credit for appearing on the big thing.
I love that. I love it. Yeah, Nick Cook is featured a lot in the Jesse Michels documentary and the stuff that he'd be fascinating to talk about. I would love to actually talk with him about a lot of this stuff and to get more of his thoughts on the Townsend Brown element of it all. But so, you know, as I'm always fascinated by the time travel aspect of it, right? Like, and I didn't. So I will say this: I didn't get to that part yet. I was prepping for the show, and I guess it's like the last part of the thing. So Reilly, what is it exactly that they talk about with time travel?
Well, I mean, it's you know, Pavel, you could probably answer better than I can, but it goes into the idea that, you know, that it's something that they say. Am I right in saying this, Pavel? That they say it's something that they've cracked and that they've essentially have figured out. Which I'm like, okay, I don't know about this.
Yeah.
This is where I pull back, pump the brakes. But it makes me think.
Well, yeah, who's
it makes
saying
me go.
this?
It makes me go. Okay, this is where I go. Technology, physics, this math will all lead to the answers of the universe. That it's just like all up there in the sky. What we're seeing is just the advancement of things, the advancement of using like science-based data to get to these technological breakthroughs, and that possibly, if I'm reading this again, Pavel, I want your take on this. The idea that what we're seeing in the sky could be essentially us time traveling back, and what they say is that time travel is essentially becoming another dimension, right, and so interdimensional, which we've talked about many times on the show.
Yeah, and that's not a theory that's new.
Right.
I've actually heard Jesse Michels bring that up in another interview before, that someone else said and that's been a belief from a lot of people that think that that's what these things could be, us from a different time, different dimension kind of. But what is it in particular, Pavel, if you can elaborate a little bit, that they cover about the and who said that we cracked it? Like where did that come from?
Well, they don't say that we cracked it per se, but they do allude to it.
Yeah.
Three things. One is, when Nick Cook went to Germany to study and investigate for his book, The Hunt for Zero Point, they talk about Die Glocke, which is the bell, the Nazi bell.
Yeah.
Which is like a legendary artifact that he wanted to investigate, that allegedly it had anti-gravity propulsion powers, and it manipulated time within like a space where they made it work, where they turned it on. And that's one part of the time travel stuff that Jesse Michels talks about. The other part, which was like a curveball to me, because I wasn't expecting Jesse to reveal a name he revealed near the end of the documentary. I've been reading the book American Cosmic. I already finished it, actually, from Dr. Diana Pasolka. And she talks about, she mentions two people in her book who were pseudonyms. One was James, which was eventually known to be Dr. Gary Nolan. And the other one was Tyler, whose name came from the Fight Club movie, Tyler Durden.
Yeah.
And she was very adamant to protect his identity. But in the internet, his name became public almost immediately, but nobody dared to say it on either a movie or a podcast. There were only just one people before Jesse who said it out loud,
right?
And that was experiencer Chris Bledsoe,
right?
Who is
right.
like a known experiencer. He basically calls on UFOs and they appear in front of him. He films them. It's really weird. And he talks about Timothy Taylor, who is a NASA scientist who is part of the space program. He's part of Space Force. And Dr. Pasolka is on record saying, she tweeted once that Tyler D was Elon Musk's handler at SpaceX, who is from NASA.
Right.
And it's the same guy. But he appears on everywhere. Like I've been seeing his name everywhere for
Tim
quite
Taylor.
a while.
Tim Taylor's name.
Yeah.
All right. So and that is who Pavelka said that she was. Well, that's Pavelka. Who. Yeah. She was with. And she had mentioned this story on the Rogan podcast when she was on as well. So this is. I want to play real quick. This is this interview piece that mentions Tim Taylor, and it's Bledsoe talking about him. Here's this clip.
Because when they come here, they're not coming to tell me anything. They're coming to study the phenomena. That's the big difference. They know it's here. They know it's around me. They know I'm connected to it. It's like NASA. It's in the book. Right away when they came to my house, they flew. They took me down to the most secured facilities on earth. Machine guns pointing at you as I walked in these doors. Had to have a security clearance to get in there. And I asked them, I said, why are you worried about me? What good am I to you guys? You've got the biggest telescopes. You got the best cameras on earth. You got all the money in the world. You got space rockets and space stations. Why do you care about me, some little country guy from North Carolina? And Tim Taylor is who I asked that to. He looks at me. He said, Chris, we know it's there. We see it. But it has absolutely nothing to do with us. None. But we know it likes you for some reason. And we just like to be a part of that. We like to study it. And he told me then, he said, don't ever go to any conferences. Not for now. Stay away from others that experience things. Don't listen to it because we'd like your experience to be yours. So when you tend to go to these places, people are left with these, what happened to me? And suddenly you're beginning to believe what happened to them happened to you. And then all of a sudden it's a Pleiadian or a Galactic Federation or something that becomes your story. So I've stayed away from others intentionally for all these years, not going to these things. So my experience is mine, and that's where it all started. And it passed around through the agencies, and different people from different three-letter agencies or four came here and still come here. And they surrounded their wagons around me because they can study it here. That's why.
All right, it's a crazy clip in general. Right, go ahead.
There's a weird confluence of things happening in my own experience with talking to people.
I thought of your buddy when I heard this clip.
So there's a weird thing going on. Coincidence is a real thing. Coincidence or serendipity or whatever you want to call it. One, my good buddy Eric Bass of Shinedown. I worked with him at GPA and whatnot. We caught up. He brought up Chris Bledsoe. Yeah. He brought up the what happens to Chris, and I explained my own experience because something shifted in that conversation, and the idea that what I saw is something similar to what Chris has seen.
Yeah.
And essentially the floating orbs.
Yeah.
Right? So then Kai Blackwood, my buddy who I've mentioned numerous times, I was with him when I saw this. And he believes he has been picked, or that these things, all just like Chris, like him.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden when I'm talking to Eric, Eric and his buddy John do Spear Talk podcast. They would love to join us one day because they believe in this stuff as well. That story gets me going, wait a minute, because of the experience and what I've seen and what Chris is kind of matching up. And then I'm walking out with my wife the other day having a walk, and I'm like looking in the sky like I'm doing lately, a lot more lately. She goes, what are you doing? I go, looking for UAPs.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh my God. And I brought up Kai Blackwood again.
Yeah, right.
And I said, oh yeah, Kai and I told the story about what I saw in Michigan, and not 10 minutes later, Kai texts me. Why? I don't know. I go, well, your ears burning, dude? And he goes, maybe. I don't know. I just thought I would text you and say hi. And I'm like,
nice.
Okay. And I said, yeah, I've been talking. I'm on UAP Tuesdays on the big thing, and I'm talking about this stuff, and I brought you up a number of times. And I said, would you want to come on? He said, yes, I would love to come on and tell you the story of this. And we started talking about Chris, and so it's interesting.
Oh, you brought up Bledsoe also with him.
It's just insane that this is like this. Yeah. Stuff all
I saw your head start moving around when that clip was playing.
It's like, why am I all of a sudden in the past 3 days talking about this very story that you pulled out of nowhere. I don't know.
But Pavel, I want to hear your thoughts, man, on this Bledsoe stuff. First of all, for people who don't know about Chris Bledsoe that are listening to the show, because I also don't want to. This is one of the things that I want to make sure of when I tell people that our show is not. We assume you know everybody, because I don't know half these people. I don't know. I mean, I've learned Chris Bledsoe's name recently and saw a couple of his interviews. But he's very highly respected in the community. He's very much believed for the stories that he's told, or I should say, the experiences that he's had. But what can you, before you go into the clip itself, what can you tell us a little bit about Bledsoe?
Well, he's the most believable UFO experiencer out there. Mm-hmm. That's first. He has a book called The UFO of God, where he talks about his experience and how it's affected his family over 20 years or so. I think that he's something angers me though about this whole topic, because we talk about nuts and bolts, we talk about the craft, we talk about a lot of stuff, what's happening on the hill, but the experiencers are very much ignored in this whole conversation. And it always happens. And I think it's partly because a lot of us get weirded out when we start hearing the stories about abductions and people who can invoke UFOs like Chris Bledsoe can, because that's essentially what he can do. Yeah. He thinks about them and they come to him and he films them. And that's real. And I saw Danny Jones, who is really skeptical with his guests on the Danny Jones podcast. Yeah. He went on a weekend with Chris and he experienced this. And he was like, how the hell did it happen? I don't know, but it's real. I mean, it's happening. There's a lot of people out there who can do this, man.
Well, you look at, but so, all right, a few things there. Because
a lot to unpack here.
Yes, but I want to bring out the first thing, because I know someone in the comment section, because I would be asking this. If I was in the comment section right now and I heard Pavel just say that, the first thing I would say is this, and I'm sure someone is about to. Okay, so if this guy can summon UFOs and take video of them, well, then why doesn't he summon one, get clear footage of it, and submit it and say, look at what I found?
Right.
So what's the answer to that one, Pavel?
To me, I mean, they've asked him that, and he says he thinks they don't like to be filmed.
Yeah, but that's an easy answer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the only answer he's giving. Yeah. I don't know what's going on, to be honest. I don't think it's a fair question, to be honest with you.
I mean, it is and it isn't. I mean, it's just that you're going to, but that's the whole point. I think that I don't know where he stands as far as the disclosure element of it all, but it is interesting. The one thing that I will say, because what someone will also say when they hear that is, okay, well, this guy says, oh, okay, well, that's convenient. They don't want to be recorded. That's what someone will say. But then the pushback that I would give on that is, well, but why is NASA visiting this guy? Why are these other agencies visiting this guy? And why does he bring up a guy like Tim Taylor that says this? And why would he make up this story that Tim Taylor tells him, look, we don't get why they're interested in you. We just know that they don't care about us and they care about you. Yeah. We know that. And that is when I thought of this story that Reilly has said many times on the show about Kai. Like many times. You said, like, for some reason it feels like when Kai is around, these things are there. And so when I heard him say that, I immediately thought of those stories, and I was like, is there something to that? I don't know.
Kai has had numerous experiences. He has believed that he has been abducted, and I have continued to be like, he believes that he believes. I can't say anything. It's not my experience, but he is so credible in the way he describes it. Yeah. And then again, the idea that I was talking to Eric. Eric told me about Bledsoe and the Danny Jones podcast and the story there that you just mentioned, Pavel. That was all like happening, and then like I get this weird text out of left field from Kai when I'm just making a joke to my wife about looking up in the sky. And I'll tell you this: my experience, I in that moment when it happened, and I'm walking with Kai in the middle of the Michigan woods. And it's dark, and it's this, and it's that, and we see this glowing orb moving across the sky, and it stops right in front of us. Kai literally looked at me and goes, "Here we go again." Like this is second
Yeah, right.
Second nature to him. Like, it's an old hat. Okay,
Right.
here we go again. We were holding cameras, filming equipment, because we were making a movie. We're holding the damn camera that can get this. Do you know how insane it felt to know that later?
I know.
It's the experience of, and I'm just trying to make a point here that maybe that's why. I mean, Bledsoe is a different kind of beast altogether in this, but we didn't at one point think to turn it on. We were too like, oh, this is happening.
I don't know. When
I know.
I was barbecuing, and I've shown the video on the before. And this, I don't know what this thing was. This red thing comes flying across the sky. It could have very well, as you all say, been a balloon or something else too. Whatever it was. But you know what I did? Yeah. I filmed that mother.
I think it would be. I think it'd be.
I'll tell you that.
I think it'd be a lot different now.
Yeah.
If I was in that experience, if I was there, knowing that I'm on a show every week.
Right. That's probably one of the reasons I did it too. Because Pavel, did I send you that one, the red one?
Yeah.
I don't know what that.
Yeah, you did.
I don't know what that was. I've seen two things. I saw the one thing in front of my house that I definitely thought was something because the way that thing was moving, and then the red thing, which I still don't know what it was.
Yeah.
Who knows? I don't know. But what I will say, all these stories and everything that's combined within the stuff with Tim Taylor, with the stuff with that we're learning about Townsend Brown, like this is all like fascinating stuff. This is like fascinating stuff all the way through because this is more. And so inside of this documentary that Jesse Michels shows, it's about an hour and 40 minutes long. And it's well worth it because it's not just about Townsend Brown. I mean, the through line is essentially about him, right? But it really is very cleverly connected to the phenomenon in general of like there's many mentions as Pavel mentioned, Nick Cook is in there, David Grush, like Burchett, like tons of people inside of this that show there's more to this, right? And you get people like Michels, you get people like Corbell, you know what one of the things that stood out to me, by the way, I didn't realize because Jesse Michels said that Corbell found that John Lear was not credible. And that he couldn't tie his own shoe or something along those lines. Did you guys has that been out there that John Lear was? Because that was the first time I always took John Lear as credible, but like apparently he was just kind of an opportunist and was trying to, from what they paint in this picture. And he and his dad had a falling out, but he just wanted to make sure that his dad's business was intact, and that's why he was doing this. And again, that's the way that the documentary kind of was painting it. But I don't know. What did you think about that, Pavel?
Near the end of his life, he did sound pretty rambling to a lot of people. Those are the reports from people who knew him.
Yeah.
But I know that Corbell has said he has countless hours of interviews with John Lear, and he says that basically they documented everything he knew in those interviews, but he hasn't published them yet or anything.
It's weird.
But yeah,
I just wonder.
Yeah, it's really weird.
It's weird. I wonder where because they all have and Michael says inside of it he's got respect for both Corbell and Knapp, but who knows what Lear was telling Knapp was true or not true. But that was just one portion of it. I was really, really kind of blown away by a lot of this stuff that they brought in, even with how the World War II and how it was that Townsend was like recruiting people to come over and work, and then there were like the Nazi scientists that were working on this. We know is factual, by the way, that there were Nazi scientists working for the Nazis while in the height of the war that then came to work for the United States.
Yeah,
that's fact. That's fact. We know that now.
Yeah,
what the hell?
It's called Operation Paperclip. It's called
right. No, that's fact. They even did that freaking that show, The Hunters. Remember that show that with based off that comic. But that's we know that now. What the hell they were working on?
Yeah,
who knows? Because now you look at for those people who consistently on this channel and every time we post a video hitting it funny that the United States is the only ones who ever reports UFOs. Wrong.
I don't know where that comes from. I don't. I mean, it's all over.
What it is?
So we have a news article.
I know where it comes from. What people don't realize. Guess what? Unless you got a VPN, you ain't tuning into the German news. You're not tuning in to Mexico's news. You're not tuning in to Italy and Russia's news. You're tuning into your own news.
But you're sending me documentaries to watch, and we're getting interviews of people from Brazil, from Mexico, from Japan, all these different places, and those are documentaries that are like your bread and butter if you're watching this show,
right?
You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's
a silly comment.
It's a silly comment. I think that it's all over. It's a phenomenon that's very true. It's you know, we have a news article here that you sent out this morning about, you know, the Brazil, you know, that crash that you know,
Virginia. We're going to talk about that with James Fox in a bit.
So, you know, that just makes me go, okay. So it is all over. It is a phenomenon that is very well shared,
well documented,
Parts, So it's a crazy. It's crazy though. All the different. You were talking there. You were going to Pavel. All these different experiences, you know, and why didn't you film it and all this? And it's like, my God, then I started second guessing myself. Did we have the camera? I thought we did.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think, and that's the point. I think that everybody has their experience or has a different experience, and it's going to change through the telephone game because you're going to remember certain things. I mean, Kai and I just had a text exchange, and I was talking about, not just now, but this yesterday, and about the Michigan experience I had where I saw this thing that I've said many times here, and we had different recollections of it. And I think that that's a very normal thing to happen because you're experiencing something that is just outlandish, but the story is correct. I mean, it's all the same start of it, the same, you know, what we saw, the kind of the area we were in. I just remember it going, you know, flying off. He remembers it kind of fading off, and so it's interesting. We'll have to get him on.
All right, before we move to another topic, I want to ask Pavel real quick. Pavel, is there anything? I mean, again, there's only so much we can cover in the amount of time that we have with this documentary with Townsend Brown, but is there anything that we shouldn't ignore right now that we should make sure that we don't forget, that the audience should know, or do you think we covered the hot spots?
Well, mainly yes, but do look into the Tim Taylor stuff, and you go on Twitter and you look for his name, and next to just write NASA next to it, you'll see a lot of crazy stuff about him. He's at the center of a lot of this stuff. So it's nice that his name is already out in an official way. And the other thing is about the time travel stuff.
Yeah.
There's this Dr. Michael P. Masters who has the extratempestrial model. It's a book about one of the theories which delves into that we are, those things are future humans. Precisely. And he appeared on another doc of Jesse Michaels.
Yeah, that's the one that I'd seen when they were in the diner, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's Dr. Masters.
Yeah.
And I'm actually probably gonna talk to him during the week.
Oh, okay.
Like in private. I'm not gonna interview him because we want to get to know each other a little bit and see how it goes.
Have him on. Then you should do the interview. Bring him on this show. We'll do it together.
Yeah. The thing is that I think that the audience needs to get more used to this idea of the future human hypothesis because he takes it really seriously. And I think that he needs to be respected for the way he sees it. And maybe it's like a topic for a little later in the story.
Well,
you know?
What about this conversation about, you know, the one quote that I read, and I know, granted, it was from a little while ago before the heat really started coming on the last year, that they don't think that disclosure is ever coming, that they don't think that people are ever going to talk about this, and that the government will never let it out, or these people will never let it out because they don't think people can handle it. They don't want to let out the technology. They don't want to let out all this stuff. Like, are we wishful thinking on this, guys? Because like you look at when we talked to Bassett, you know, last week when we aired the interview, he gave us a high percentage, of 75% that he thinks 75% that we're going to get disclosure this year with the president, whoever the president may be, disclosing that, you know, a lot of this stuff. And then there was a lot of pushback in the comments, and people said, "Look, Bassett said this before. Bassett wants disclosure. Bassett wants and he's, I mean, look, we can tell you, we sat down with him. He's very passionate about it, and he wants a lot of this to go down, and he's very good at the way that he proposes his points and says, like, look, this is what Schumer could do. This is it. And it's like, but I just see, when you look at something like what Mike Turner did, I just feel like that's happening every corner. And if people like Lockheed Martin, and if they're so good at keeping it quiet and finding a way to say no, nobody's ready yet, and we're not giving up our secrets, and they've been playing this game for so long, what's different now? Pavel, do you because you've been an advocate, you think that this disclosure stuff's going to happen? Like, one thing when it came to the Soul Foundation, well, one thing they didn't address in those videos, because the biggest point in all of those videos that came out, they were shot in November, but it came out 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, that they all mentioned how important the Schumer and Rounds bill was going to be about moving to the next level. Well, guess what? That thing got gutted, and none of them have mentioned that. Or at least they did. I didn't see it, but no one has mentioned the fact that, well, what do you do now? Because that in the presentation, they're talking about how important it is that it gets passed the way that it did. So, how set back are they, do you think, in your opinion?
I am not as optimistic as Steve Bassett, though, because
I don't think anybody is.
I do want disclosure. You're right on that, but I don't think it's first of all, I don't think it's a one thing event, and I think it's been happening since 2017, but like sporadically.
Yeah.
What people want, I think, are the 4K videos of the evidence.
Yes.
That would crack it, but I don't think it's coming from the government. I think they want to slow play it, and under their terms, which is, I don't think it's the best way to go about it.
Right. Well, what about Mavericks? Like, because you can say Jeremy Corbell's a Maverick. You can call him that. You look at the jellyfish stuff and that stuff. What about guys like him? What about guys like that are out there? What about guys when they did that Daily Mail dump about the CIA program? Like, are we going to see more Mavericks? Are we going to see more people like that? I mean, speaking of the Maverick, Logan Paul, for those people who follow wrestling, he's got that video. Like, what happens? Is that where you're talking about? You think that somebody like that is going to really kind of crack it open?
I don't think revealing Tim Taylor's name was a coincidence. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. All right. Well, what do you guys think? There's so much in there, man. There's so much in there. We're not done yet. We got a lot more to talk about, but that's all the stuff that we just covered from that doc. There was tons of stuff in there. I would, if you're interested, go watch it. If you're interested in this stuff and you watch this show every Tuesday, man, you should be watching that. You should have watched that first and then come watch this, because I want to get all your theories. I want to get all of your comments. And that's the other thing that I ask you each and every week, especially if you're not already subscribed, to do that. But while you're here, please put the comments in there. When I upload these videos, I try to answer back people like right away, and then I'm fortunate enough that there's so many comments that it's hard to keep up with all of them on this show. But I try to catch up with as many as I can when we first. So the second the video drops and you see it, start throwing in your conversation, because I want to be involved in it. Okay, let's move on. And before we do, I want to tell you guys about two more of our wonderful sponsors. That's right, Blue Chew and Tushy. This episode is sponsored by Blue Chew. Come on, let's do it. Let's talk about sex. Hey guys, remember the days when you were always ready to go? Everybody, you're like, yeah, back in the day, go whenever I wanted to. Well, now you can increase your performance. You can get that extra confidence in bed. Listen up, BlueChew.com. Blue Chew's no joke. It's pretty great. It's a unique online service, and it delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in chewable tablets at a fraction of the cost. You can take them whenever, daytime, night. You can plan ahead, be ready whenever that opportunity arises. And the process is super simple. You sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you are approved, then you receive your prescription within days. And the best part? All online. No visit to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA and prepared and shipped direct to your door in a discreet package. So, for me, yes, it works. And the thing is, you know, I didn't think I needed it, but hey, you try it for a month and you see, you love it. You could be missing out on the best sex of your life. I'm telling you. They always say first impressions are important. What about lasting impressions? Do it. Blue Chew wants to help you have better sex. They do. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. Chew it and do it. Love that. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. You got to try Blue Chew free. But you got to use that promo code BIGTHING at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's bluechew.com. Promo code BIGTHING to receive your first month free. Yeah, do you hear that? Free. Visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And we got to thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast. As we get older, I'll tell you, the bidets, I love the bidets. I wish I got introduced to the bidet a long time ago with Tushy. And it is so what an invention. What an invention. At first you sit down and you want to feel classy, you want to show some class. You show some class by getting the bidet on your, I'm not going to say it. I could have rhymed, but I didn't. It's lovely. It's absolutely lovely. So let me tell you a little bit about it, because the next time you're sitting down on the toilet to squeeze out a big baseball bat, I'll tell you what happens. Hello Tushy wants you to remember one thing. The time that you're spending scrolling on your phone, it's not giving you peace of mind. You know what it's giving you? Hemorrhoids. That's right. Men spend twice as long in the bathroom. This is fact. I go into that bathroom sometimes for peace, but I wind up sitting trying to get some business done. And it is the one leading cause of hemorrhoids is prolonged sitting on the toilet. That's right. If you wipe with toilet paper, it's only going to irritate your butthole. That's what it's going to do. The Tushy, it cleans your butt with a targeted stream of fresh water, eliminating the need for painful wiping. So I really, really dig it. And it just feels nice. Again, I feel classy. I'm not gonna lie to you. I feel classy. That's the whole thing. So Tushy Bidet cleans your butt 2 times better and gentler than wiping with toilet paper. For the rest of your life, you can leave the bathroom sooner feeling confident that your butt's actually clean. The bidet easily attaches to your existing toilet. You know how long it takes? Under 10 minutes. 10 minutes. I was going to say 20. It's not true. It took me about 8 minutes without additional plumbing or electricity needed. Every Hello Tushy bidet comes with a 30-day hassle-free return and a 12-month warranty. So stop wiping until you bleed. Come on. Join the 3 million butts who've already made the switch to Tushy. For a limited time, our listeners get 10% off your entire order when you use the code BIGTHING at checkout. That's 10% off your order at HELLOTUSHY.com, HelloTushy.com. Promo code BIGTHING. Yeah, man. All right. Thank you to our friends over at Blue Chew and Tushy. I'll tell you what, man. I never knew I needed a bidet, and now I got one. So thank you to that. Thank you to Tushy and Blue Chew.
One of the greatest inventions ever.
Ever. Do you have one?
Yeah. I have one.
It's dude, Tushy's and Blue Chew, the both of them. So glad that they're both here. So links in the description. As I mention every week, the reason why we're able to do this show is because of our sponsors. And people have asked, hey, look, I really like what you guys are doing. I'm glad that you guys are doing this show. How can I support? Find something that you love out of these sponsors and get one for yourself. That helps us, and it'll help you. You get something out of it. So links are in the description, and I always pin the sponsors on the top comment. All right, this next one. Now, Skyfire News has been posting. This is a good account to follow on X, because they do a lot of different things that are coming out and all the things, and they cover all sides of it. So this is one UFO seen in the background of SpaceX video doing strange maneuvers. Now check this out.
Eutelsat 10B separation confirmed.
Look at that. What's that?
You can see the spacecraft built by Thales Alenia Space
like something
proceeding
broke off
against the blackness of space there.
Seems like
flying over the
look at those.
Indian Ocean between Madagascar and the eastern coast of Africa.
Yeah,
there's another one over there.
Zipping.
Of more than 1,300 kilometers. Eutelsat 10B is beginning a 15-year mission to provide broadband internet services to applications.
That one's
like
just moving around in a circle.
Wi-Fi,
What is
maritime
that?
communications,
There's a bunch of
and
them.
Other types of users in a swath of the Earth from the North Atlantic to the Middle East. Eutelsat 10B will be extended.
Now, why isn't he saying what the hell is that?
Later on, and beginning maneuvers with its plasma thrusters, its all-electric propulsion system, to reshape its orbit.
Yeah, well, look at that one.
Elliptical super-synchronous transfer orbit.
All right, so
I mean,
I'm
is
sure
that George Clooney from Gravity just finally
I'm
coming back?
And I'm sure Mick West had 7,000 reasons why it was nothing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, satellites.
Yeah.
Oh, they're balloons.
Someone said it. Oh, I used to believe in it, but then I heard Mick West. I mean, Mick West, that's his job, is to say, like, no matter, an alien could come down and have a conversation with him, and he could say, I was a kid in a mask.
Yeah.
So I don't really take. I mean, it's in the same way that I don't take someone serious. That's just like, oh, look at my light. That's an alien. Look at my light. It's an alien. I can't take that guy serious. I can't take that guy like no.
No, what was that?
Yeah.
I mean,
what
was
what was that?
That was crazy.
So Pavel, what do you see that? What? So I know you had an actually interesting question though before we showed that footage. What did you want to bring up there with SpaceX?
Well, Tim Taylor again. Funny enough, because Pasolka said he was Elon Musk's handler, who is from Space Force, and I think it's really suspicious that Elon Musk, the times they ask him about it, he's like, if aliens exist, they're very conspicuous, and I'd know because I should know.
Right.
But what he doesn't tell you is that he has contracts with pretty much every government in the world, and he needs to play ball with NASA and with Space Force in order to get his toys. So he's compromised, essentially. He can't say anything about it. So when this comes out, because they've been coming out constantly, this is only the latest, SpaceX and Elon Musk are suspiciously quiet about it all the time.
This one drives me crazy though too. When I see this though, it's the same thing where like you have, because I sent you guys the balloon thing that was flying around the other day, and then because I sent it to Pavel, and Pavel was like, well, the only thing is that it's been confirmed that it's not UAP. It's like, yeah, I know, but the point is, everyone covered it.
Right.
Everyone covered that. I was watching Lester Holt, and it's one of the top stories. Why? Because it was a balloon.
Right.
Because it was an actual balloon.
It was a balloon, and it could be a spy of China again, and national implications.
How is this not covered? How is this not covered? Where you like, and I'm not telling you to say like, hey, we saw a bunch of alien ships flying around. No, of course not. But in the same way that we did, footage from SpaceX came out today of all these dots, and people want to know, what is it? So we have one of our reporters who's going to ask a question to someone who might have an answer. And the answer is, okay, well, we didn't know what it was, but now that you gave us the answer, thanks. And you move on. But it's not even covered.
Yeah.
That is, to me, where a lot of different shows have like their thing that they cover, and it's like, oh yeah, well, if you watch so and so, they really want to know about the remote viewing, or if you really want to talk. Our thing, when you talk about our show, we want to know why the major TV networks are not covering this stuff. And I'm not telling you as far as confirmation goes. I'm not telling you that. I'm telling you as far as Chuck Schumer still to this day. I don't care what you think about Chuck Schumer, but this is the guy who is the Senate Majority Leader who was in front of the freaking the government, telling people that they wanted disclosure and wanted, or more so, find out if there was information that they were able to start the process to let the public know, and it was shot down, but it wasn't covered by anybody. And as Bassett said, well, that's not true. They covered it on print, sure, but nobody know. If you talk to your friends, if people who don't watch this show, who know nothing about it, and they follow politics, they don't know about this. I've talked to my friends who know about politics, and they don't know about this. They don't know about this story. This is stupid.
Yeah,
stupid.
Why are we having to be on Twitter of all things to see
get
this
it.
thing?
Yeah,
right?
I mean, look, this is why this is why companies like whether it's Skyfire and others will benefit, because this is where I will go. I used to go to News Nation to get like the stories. They're not covering it anymore.
Yeah.
So, I mean, News Nation will, I guess, because they have a deal with like Ross Coulthart now when Coulthart's exclusives come out, but they were covering it all the time.
Yeah.
But I go to places like this. I go to Twitter accounts like Michelangelo and guys like that. So I don't know.
This video is literally sat there. We sat here doing the show.
Yeah.
Reacting to this thing because I saw it with my own two eyes. And this is what I think is such a major part of the stigma out there that needs to be broken down. It's like, show this video on the Channel 7 News at 3 o'clock today. I always turn the news on Channel 7
Right.
when I'm working at home because I like the local news. That's
Right,
just, and I
right,
know it
yeah.
starts at 3 right after General Hospital. I know that. And I put it on.
Right.
And why couldn't they cover this?
I know.
And get it out there and have people going, decide for yourself.
It's true. Well,
That's all it is. Decide for yourself, rather than having to go on X or Twitter or whatever the
Whatever it
hell
is.
you're calling it
Yeah.
today. That's fine. But that is really, that's evidence. Don't know what it is. Not saying it's little green men from Mars.
right.
But I'm saying there's something there is there.
And maybe there is a reason for
There-
it. but what is
maybe
it?
there's a
But what
really
is it?
good explanation.
I don't know. But all right, Pavel, anything else there out of that one that you want to talk about?
I think that media is changing though, and I mean, people, places like this, the big thing, or Rogan is responsible for a lot
Yeah,
of this.
he is, yeah.
In a sense. So I think that if people keep moving on to these alternative media, such as podcast or online news, I think the word is going to spread around to a lot of people a little slower than
Yeah.
the legacy media.
Yeah.
But that's basically the only way we're gonna get more people involved, because they don't want to play ball. I mean,
Yeah.
they're out.
Right.
They're bought and paid for.
I know. I mean, I loved Bassett's explanation for all that too. By the way, for real, I thought he had a really good explanation of how that worked with legacy media. Okay, the other thing I wanted to bring up, there's two last things. All right, so Jamie Moussan is in the news again, and so if you didn't know Jamie, he was the one who brought the bodies out during the Mexican hearings.
Yeah.
And he has been involved in the community for a long time. Controversial figure. He tweeted out, and this is again from Skyfire News. I want to make sure that I have their tag in there. All right, this is again from Skyfire News, who puts out that Jamie Moussan wants to discuss UFOs with Lou Elizondo on Mexican television. To which Jamie said, "Hi, Lou, I would like to interview you for Mexican television. I consider that you are the person who has changed and is now going to monumentally change the history of the United States in the coming weeks in your Congress." All right, so now, Pavel, is someone who, you know Jamie pretty well, or well enough that you've interviewed him and you guys are in contact. You think he's going to have any luck here?
No.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I don't. It's not because he doesn't deserve to get that interview, but I think they were mostly silent about showing the bodies with Graves.
Yeah.
And Graves is really good friends with Lou, and that didn't go over too well.
Yeah.
So I think that took credibility from Moussan. If that hadn't happened, I think he would already have interviewed him.
Yeah.
But that was a problem. And don't get me wrong, man. I'm gonna be honest with you here, because I've been talking to him and his team for a while now, and they have an open legal procedure in terms of the bodies against the Ministry of Culture in Peru.
Okay.
Wow.
And they're going forward with it, and they're claiming. I mean, it's all legal now. But I think
What does that mean? What does that mean a little bit? I was a little bit confused by that. So you mean that there's a lawsuit that's coming? Are they suing, or who's suing who?
Moussan is suing the Ministry of Culture of Peru
Okay.
for what's it called? Defamation.
Okay.
Defamation of character.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So they're going
And
through
so-
with it. Okay.
They're basically saying
We have the proof. We have the
proof.
scientific evidence. We have everything, and they're putting it all legally, so they can get the last word.
So they're doubling down on
Yes.
on these bodies.
Yeah, and also there are a lot of scientific groups from different universities around the world that have already studied the bodies, and the results favor Moussan. That's
Really?
Yeah,
Because the
that's-
TMZ the TMZ doc goes into the idea that Graves is there at the hearings and was
That's because of the
had
stigma.
eyes that were like the stigma, right? But Graves, just going off of what Graves said, he's like that. I was there to talk about a thing. The alien bodies come in, and I was kind of embarrassed, or just being like, now it's becoming somewhat of a circus. And then there was a doctor on there that was basically just debunking these bodies, saying that they were something else. So Pavel, now what you were saying is different.
He was part of the Ministry of Peru, Ministry of Culture. That doctor.
Oh, okay.
and he didn't show any bodies. He showed some other dolls that were constructed specifically for that hearing.
Okay.
I'm not saying, to be clear, I'm not saying that I believe those bodies are real. I'm just stating the facts.
Yeah.
Maussan has a legal procedure open, and he claims to have all the proof that say that the bodies are real.
And he's going forward with it.
Yeah, but I'm going to be honest with you. Even if they were real, I think talking about bodies is not. It's not time for that yet.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
Yeah.
We first got to get this stuff about the UFOs and the UAP to as many people as possible and see what is going on. Because today with the documentary, there was proof that it may be our tech too. You know?
That's what I got out of it too. It looked like there was a lot of headway that was made because of the anti-gravity stuff that we just are not talking about, or that no one's talking about. But all right, that's that, and then there's this one I thought was interesting also. All right, we're gonna get these field hearings. Okay, so this is Moskowitz talking about the field hearings. Let's play this.
Hey, how are you, Congressman Moskowitz?
Yeah.
Excuse me. I was told that you had good thoughts on where to maybe hold the next UAP hearing.
Well, we did get some locations in the classified briefing that are fascinating. So there's talk about maybe going to some of those places, but it's, very unknown at the moment.
It's early.
Early.
What are the big questions you have lingering? Do you think we'll be able to find answers for those in the next public hearing? Or?
Well, I think the claims that perhaps the IG found some validity in Rush's claims. Those are the ones I want to follow up on. I got to go hit your plane.
Yes, sir.
All right. So was that Matt Laszlo that did that interview?
Yes, that was him.
So Laszlo did that. He does some pretty good stuff too on the floor there and getting that information. So what do you, Pavel? You, before we started filming, you wanted to make it clear about what people should know about the difference between like the hearings that were last summer with Grush and Graves, and what's the difference between this and a field hearing?
The field hearing is where representatives go to specific locations where stuff may be concealed or put there, and they have like a warrant to demand to see the stuff and to see documents. They attempted to do this with Matt Gates at Wright-Patterson's Air Force field, and they were denied by the general who was right there. But now, after the legislation passed and all that, the idea is that Luna, I don't know if Burchett and Moskowitz, they are going to pick from one of the most talked about places, which is Wright-Patterson's, Area 51, you name it, like the Colorado Springs. And the idea is to go there and ask for documentation and ask to see any material evidence.
So
That's great.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I think, like, are they going to know beforehand that they're coming? Because, like, if so, it's like, hey, we need to move stuff. If that's the case,
I think it's already been moved.
right? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean that's, hey, we're coming in here. We're gonna be. We'll meet you guys in a month at that space. A month? Can you make it a month in 4 days?
Yeah.
And then it's like
one thing though. I think that they also know this before they get
they
there.
do. Yeah, sure.
But they wanna try to get them in the act. If they find any evidence or clues that something was moved or burned or destroyed, that's what they're after. Not precisely the.
I'm gonna quote George Knapp, and I quote him often with this: "They are better at their job than we are at ours."
Yes,
it's one of my favorite.
exactly.
It's one of my favorite quotes, and it is so true. You can try to catch them in the act in the same way that everybody else has been trying to catch them in the act for 80 years. It's like, what do you? I mean, I don't know. I like the idea that they've got field hearings, but what they need to do is they need to go to Colhart, who I think knows that there's that rumor that there's this building-sized, gigantic UAP that they have that's like buried underneath the building.
Yeah.
Go to that one. They can't move that one. Go to that one.
There was in the documentary. There's one in Burbank. We could
really?
go there. Yeah, I
Let's
wonder how
go.
close it is to the old Collider Studios.
I mean, it probably is the old Collider Studios.
It probably is.
But either way, it's like it just gets me. I don't know.
You're pessimistic about all this, and
because I don't
understand.
trust people.
And they are better at all this. But
Yeah.
I mean, when I say it's good, it's because it's good that we are making these
I hear you.
movements, and they are baby steps. And
Yeah.
I know it becomes this, it's frustrating. But I do believe these hearings, these field hearings that they're proposing, these are all good things because there is actual movement. Now it's at a glacial speed.
Yeah.
It feels like. But at least that's where I go, good. At least there's that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a whole other kind of
It's a whole
thing.
other
They
thing.
might be moving it. It's already gone.
You know what I noticed also as we get to Pavel, you mentioned Luna. It seems like Luna is becoming more and more a believer because when you look, I mean, not that she wasn't in the first place, but when the more and more she goes down the rabbit hole, since there was a clip I saw recently where she's talking about reverse engineering and all those things that she believes. So am I correct in making that assessment? That seems like she's becoming more and more of someone who's just like really convinced that there's this otherworldly stuff.
Yeah, she's even quoted saying that I got men in blacked.
Yeah,
Whatever that means.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. So that's one of the people that we're going to see at these field hearings. So when these field hearings are, I don't know.
Remains to be seen.
Remains to be seen. All right, the last one.
I think it's gonna be within the next 3 to 4 weeks.
Really?
We're gonna get information on that.
Are we going to get information on it though? I mean, what if they go? What if this is the one of the we've talked about this before in the show, but like, what if they go and they're like, okay, look, we got Burchett, we got Luna, we got some. Let's just show them the thing. You want to show them the thing? Show them the thing. Why? Because when they see the thing, they're going to know they can't tell anyone about the thing. Really? Let's show them the thing.
Sure.
That's a possibility.
And they show them and they go, wait a minute, maybe you guys are right. Maybe people shouldn't know about this. And now I'm going to be thinking about this all the time. Oh my God.
Which is the fucking elephant in the room,
Yeah.
to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Tom DeLonge said it multiple times that there was this one debriefing he had where he didn't sleep for like 2 or 3 days thinking about what he was told. Oh, and I'm like, what were you told?
Yeah.
Right. How does Tom DeLonge have all this access, by the way?
He has a person in his family is from the intelligence community.
And that's all he was briefed that way. But I mean, but isn't that against the law?
Well, it depends on how much need to know that person has.
I guess. All right. Well,
That's what's
this
scary.
is the last thing that I'm so confused about. Let me read this. All right. Apparently, there's going to be a new AARO UFO report that's coming out March 7th. Former Pentagon UFO Office Director John Kirkpatrick says that his final UFO report will probably be released to the public before the State of the Union on March 7th. Okay. So I'm so confused because we covered, I think it was 2 weeks ago, that there was this article, and Pavel and I talked about this on Twitter. I don't even know how accurate it was, but the report had said that Kirkpatrick kind of had a change of heart,
Yeah.
and that he was like, no, I was told to do this, but that was one report that I saw, and I never saw anybody else covering that. And I'm not talking about how I normally go, the news networks aren't covering it. I'm talking about anybody. I'm talking about podcasts weren't covering it. Nobody was covering this thing. So I don't know how true that is. I tend to believe that this is going to be another one of those, let's see if we can just kind of push everybody over here, and people will have everybody cover this because it'll basically say, no, I didn't find anything. We looked, but we couldn't find anything. What do you think this means? What does this mean about John Kirkpatrick? Reilly, let's start with you.
I don't know what it means.
Fair.
It's because it's
confusing.
changing. It's going back and forth. It's like just I'll see it to believe it. I really am done speculating on this guy because it's like on one side he's saying this, and on the other side he's saying that. It's like all right, it's somebody getting to him, there's somebody on the other side getting. It's just it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I don't like the wishy-washiness. I don't like the vacillating between one point and the next. So I don't know what it means. I really don't. We'll see.
What's it mean, Pavel?
Well, this is giving me a lot of Dr. Alan Hynek vibes because Dr. Alan Hynek was, as you know, part of Project Blue Book, and he was at the bunker for the majority of the time.
He was the Mick West.
Oh, that's right.
But when he got out, he had a change of heart
Right.
completely. He
Yep.
wrote books.
Yep.
And I think that's still possible. I mean, he just got out, Kirkpatrick.
So you think this could be a positive for the community?
I don't think we're gonna see anything different on this report.
Oh, okay.
But I would keep an eye out on him when he's out and what he does next.
Interesting. Okay.
Very interesting indeed.
I like that.
All right, look, we covered so much here today. There is so much to talk about with the Jesse Michels doc, and the stuff coming out from so much. This is so much. So I asked you guys, and all the stuff we talked about, what stood out? What was the thing that you were like, wait a minute? My as Reilly said, my worldview's changing. Mm-hmm. I'd like to thank my panel for being here today, starting with Mark Reilly. Reilly, where can they find you?
You can find me on the internet at Reilly Around, REILLY Around. See you there.
Pavel, what do you got coming up? Tell them where they can find your YouTube channel besides the link in the description.
My YouTube is Psicoactivo Podcast, just like that. It's written in Spanish. And you can find me on Twitter at Pavel Ibarrameda. What I got coming out, I think I'm going to talk to the director of a documentary called The Secret of Dr. Greenberg. And I'm going to talk to the director of that film. I'm going to try to do it in English with him so we can reach a wider audience. And then I'm going to try to talk again with Nick Cook and with Dr. Michael Masters, see what's up.
Amazing. Thank you once again for being with us, Pavel. As always, guys, as I said in the beginning of the show, that button right there, trying to get to 200,000. We just hit 130,000 subscribers. We're trying to do at least 131, 132 by the end of the month. And if you hit that button, you can make that happen and be part of the conversation. Sometimes I look at these episodes and they'll do 200, 300,000 views. Hit the button so you can be part of the next conversation. That's what we want to do here. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere podcasts are found. All right, for Mark Reilly, myself, and Pavel, this is UAP Tuesday. We'll see you next week.